What is up, everyone? It is Tuesday. I just got done with class. It is my second week of transitional clerkship, which means I only have like 2.5 more weeks until I start rotation. So this is actually a very exciting week. One of the biggest experiences during transitional is getting the opportunity to go into the hospital and round with whatever team that you're starting on. So if you're starting on pediatrics, you go around with the peds team. Internal med, you round with internal med. And I had that experience yesterday morning. Me and I think like 8 of my classmates went to our main hospital to do internal medicine rounds. It's not the hospital that I'm going to be starting at because that is a lot further south, but it is our big main hospital. So while it didn't help me learn the layout of the hospital, it still gave me a good idea of what rounds is and what sort of my day-to-day life is going to look like. So we got there around 6:30, I think 6:45. I think the doctor who was supposed to meet us was actually out that day, so we had to text one of the M3s and they came and got us and kind of got us set up and showed us the ropes. The intern I rounded with was actually a med student at my school. He did the 3-year program, so he just matched into internal medicine at our big main hospital this past July. So he's, a few months into his intern year, he's starting to learn the ropes. So like I said, I pre-rounded with him. We went around and saw maybe like 5 or 6 patients, basically just checked up on them, saw how they were doing, did their vitals, did a physical exam, and then sort of talked about where they're at and what things that we should be doing to get them out of the hospital. It was a really great experience. I learned a lot from him. He's a really great teacher. Nice to be in that environment again. I don't have a lot of experience in inpatient medicine, so doing that was really helpful. And then after that, we rounded. So we basically just sat around in a room and all of the med students and residents just went and presented their patients to the attending. There wasn't too much pimping going on. The attending was very chill, but when something would come up that we needed to talk about a little more, or she had questions about the resident or the med student's plan, we would delve more into that. But for the most part, it was pretty informal, just kind of talking about all the patients and making sure everyone is on the same page. So all in all, really good experience. It was, like I said, a lot more relaxed than I was expecting. I'll be interested to learn what, the students do with the rest of their day, because it seems like between pre-rounding and rounding and sort of getting an established plan, like that is seemingly a lot of the work that you have to do for the day. And then I think you just kind of complete tasks, if someone needs their blood drawn, you can go do that. If you got imaging, make sure you're reading it and going down to radiology if you have time and learning from them. Obviously, if there's any new admits, like you'll be doing that. But yeah, we only stayed there for the morning and left right after rounding, so there's still sort of half of the day that I still haven't seen yet. So after I rounded, just went to school. We had a few sessions, and then earlier today we had what they called a hospital day simulation. It wasn't really just a day, it's more like 2 days, but basically how it worked was we saw an SP as like sort of a chief complaint ER visit. My patient was coming in for severe abdominal pain, so had to work that up, talk to the patient, do a physical, come up with a plan, what labs and imaging did I want to order, had to prepare a presentation and a note, and then we did a bit of a debrief, and then we did sort of a high-tech simulation as if that patient was admitted and we were going to pre-round on them the next day. So we got some updates, like a nurse's note of overnight events, so we kind of knew what was going on. So then we walked in, and this was a session with our mannequins, so they were hooked up to the monitor. So sort of in real time, we saw what was going on with their vitals, could talk to the patient. They were not doing very well. So we had to quickly decide what was going on and what we could do to help stabilize the patient and make them feel better. So that again was a really good experience because it's sort of simulating the stuff that is going to happen in real life once we start rotation. We're going to be called down to the ER to evaluate a patient, and if they're admitted, then that's our patient, and the next day we're gonna have to pre-round on them and see what happened overnight, see if there's any updates, if the patient feels better, feels worse, and then use all that information to come up with a plan for the next day. All right, just checking in. It is Friday. The past few days haven't been too exciting. We've had a bunch of sessions just going over some high yield stuff like common lab abnormalities. We reviewed a sort of medical imaging quiz that we had to do, and that was really good. We just went through every single question with a radiologist. So we sort of got the official answers for all of those with explanations in real time, so that was really great. And then today, Friday, was really cool because we had a essential skills workshop where we learned a lot of really important stuff like how to draw blood, how to place an IV. We also learned how to place Foley catheters on both males and females. So that was awesome stuff that I've never really done before. I think I've practiced drawing blood like once or twice, but I'm definitely not an expert at it. And it was nice to have some really expert instruction from the nurses to make sure that we knew exactly what we were doing, because this is all stuff that we're gonna have to be doing in clerkships. You know, if a patient needs their blood drawn and no one is around to do it, then we have to do it. Same thing placing an IV or a Foley, you know, some of the support staff, the nurses, whatever, they can do that, but if they're busy, which they are, and we have a lot more downtime than a lot of the other team members, that's, you know, those are great things for us to do and practice our skills. So yeah, that was pretty much most of today, and I actually have to hurry and pack up because I am leaving for Philadelphia tonight. I'm running the Philadelphia half marathon tomorrow with my classmate Ryan, and there's actually a lot of other Hackensack students running it. I don't think I'll really link up with any of them, but it is really cool to see. A lot of us are making the trip down there to run it. I've never really spent a lot of time in Philly, so I think it's going to be a good way to see the city. We're staying with Ryan's sister, which is very nice of her to house us. So yeah, I'm excited. It's Ryan's first half marathon, my second, so I'm just gonna kind of run with him and try to pace him because he's never done it before, and it should be a great time. Alright, so it is Sunday, and I wanted to talk about how the half marathon went. So we got in pretty late Friday, had dinner and just went to bed because we had to get up pretty early. A lot of races, like a half marathon or marathon, start at like 7, 8 in the morning, so you have to get up, get some nutrition in you, make sure your body is awake before the race time. So thankfully we were so close to the start line. I think we were literally like on the same block as one of the entrances to the start, so we didn't have too far to go, but we still got up early just to make sure that our bodies were fully awake before we started. So we got up, had something to eat, got some caffeine in us, and then walked over to the starting line. And first thing I noticed was how much of like a bigger event this was than the one I did in DC. The DC one was, I think, like 5,000 people. They had some tents and stuff set up, but as soon as we walked into this one, I was like, wow, this is like a whole different level. There were so many signs and decorations, and overall just like a really good vibe. We got there pretty early, so we were just kind of standing, talking, waiting to get into our corral. It was really funny. There was someone in front of us who I saw on his phone. He was doing Anki cards, so, you know, introduce ourselves, and it turns out he was a medical student at one of the Philly schools. So just a funny coincidence. So yeah, just kind of waited until the start of the race. It ended up being absolutely beautiful weather. Like maybe a week before the race, it said it was going to be like 30 degrees and 50% chance of rain, but didn't rain. I think it was like 55 degrees. The only bad thing was it was very windy, so that did make it feel a little bit colder, but as soon as we started running, I was completely fine. So yeah, the race started at 7. However, we were pretty far back in the corrals, so we didn't actually start running until like 7:20. They sort of spaced everyone out a lot by the pace that they were going to run at, which is a good thing, but it just meant that we were kind of standing around for a little bit longer, but it was no big deal. The first like 6 miles of the race were great. We were running through Center City in Philly, which was just a really nice historic area. I've never really explored Philly much. I went there once when I was working for the football team when we played Temple, but I was there for like less than 24 hours and pretty much just was at the stadium the whole time, so I didn't really get to explore and experience Philly. So running through the streets of Philly was a really nice way to do that. Philly has a bunch of different hospitals, so you know, who knows, there might be a good chance that I end up there for residency just because of like geographic proximity and the fact that there's a bunch of programs there. But yeah, like I said, first 6 miles were great. It was just running through the streets of Philly, and then we went over a bridge over into University City, I think it was called, which is where Penn and Drexel were, so running across those bridges was great. The end of the race wasn't awesome. It was just sort of in these weird like outskirt areas, just sort of parks where the running trail was not great. A few people fell because, you know, it was a little bit wet. There was leaves. It was, you know, some parts of it were just gravel, so not a great area to run in, especially at the end of a race when you're like really fatigued. But we still made it. The last like mile of the race was downhill, which was great, but that meant that around like mile 9 it was uphill for pretty much the whole mile, so that was pretty tough. But either way, we finished. I saw one of my classmates running, so that was nice to see him, but I didn't see any of the other Hackensack students, but I know that they all had great races. So all in all, really good experience. So after the race, kind of walked around Philly. My friend Ryan went to Temple and then did 2 gap years in Philly, so he was very familiar with the area, so he was showing us around a little bit. Went and grabbed something to eat. So we got back to New Jersey pretty late. Kind of went to bed, and then today I've just been catching up on stuff because wasn't really able to do anything productive all of yesterday because we were running and then just exploring the city. So do have a lot to do today. However, only have a few days before Thanksgiving break. We do have 2 practice OSCEs this week, so that'll be interesting. So with all of our OSCEs and our preclinical blocks, it was pretty easy to predict what sorts of cases we were going to get because, you know, when we're in our GI block, we're probably going to have stuff with nausea and abdominal pain. Neuro, you know, pretty easy to predict. It's going to be like a stroke or spinal cord injury. But with this, who really knows? You know, we've done everything so far, so they can kind of pick from whatever they want to test us on. So a little bit nerve-wracking, but I know that we'll be prepared because, like I said, we've already done all of the major subjects. And then after Monday and Tuesday, we actually have a little bit of a break. I'll go home Wednesday for Thanksgiving and be able to relax a little bit. Alright, so I am back in New Jersey after spending Thanksgiving in Maryland, and you might be able to tell that things look a little different. Yesterday I moved into a new apartment with the help of my parents, and the main reason I had to move is because I was placed in the central region for the hospitals in our system for rotations. The Hackensack health system spans most of North and Central Jersey, so for our clerkships they sort of split us up into North and Central.
We still have one more week before we start rotations, but I want to be here a little bit early just to settle in and get used to the area. And thankfully, I am less than a 10-minute drive from the hospital where I have my first 2 rotations at, so it's super convenient. Besides the stress of moving, I had a pretty great Thanksgiving break. Wednesday, I drove back to Maryland, didn't do much, just kind of relaxed with my parents. Thursday was Thanksgiving, so we did all of the normal holiday festivities. Ate dinner, watched football, saw family. It was great to see my family and catch up with some people that I don't see very often. And then Friday, I hung out with my friend Noah and filmed a state semi-final football game. It was really fun to get back out and film some sort of sport. It's probably been 6 months since I filmed any sports. I think I filmed a lacrosse game back in the spring, though it was a good change of pace from filming myself talking like this. So like I said, I got back to New Jersey yesterday, but I spent pretty much the whole day moving in. But I finally got everything squared away. I do have one more week of transitional clerkship, which is back up at our school campus, which is about an hour away, so that kind of sucks. This week isn't going to be too bad though. We only have like 1 or 2 sessions every day, and a lot of it is some hands-on stuff. Tomorrow and Tuesday, I have my OSCEs for this block, so it'll be nice to get those out of the way so I can just focus on studying internal medicine. Not really sure what our OSCEs are going to entail. I know one of the days is sort of our simulation with the mannequins and stuff, so that those are usually like urgent or emergent situations where you use the vitals, the patient's symptoms, labs, imaging to try to make medical decisions on the fly. And I have that tomorrow. I think it's probably going to be like 2 of those encounters, and then you have to write notes after it. And then Tuesday, I have SP encounters. Once again, I think it's going to be 2 of them. That's going to be sort of a typical, like, do a history and physical, write more of a comprehensive note, and then also give a presentation. So it should be fun. Not really sure what kind of cases they're going to give us. Probably some cardio thing, maybe a GI thing, just because those are really common and things that can present in sort of emergency situations. Alright, well that is going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like below and subscribe if you want to see videos like this in the future. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next one.